Who are the children most at risk of road traffic injury? Children represent a highly vulnerable group on the road, as they're still developing both cognitively and behaviourally. However, some groups of children may be more vulnerable than others. Identifying those children who are at the highest risk of road traffic injury is central to targeting prevention methods at those who are most vulnerable and reducing the number of child road casualties. Our research at the Centre for Transport Studies at University College London has been working to understand patterns of risk of road traffic injury across childhood and effective road safety education methods for families and children who are at the greatest risk. It has been well known for several decades that children from deprived backgrounds are at increased risk of road traffic injury, but understanding patterns of risk of road traffic injury across early to late childhood is limited. Our research, funded by the Road Safety Trust, indicated that although reduced from earlier estimates, social inequality in road traffic injury for children remains, even after taking into account exposure to the roads. During childhood, children make significant advances in their cognitive abilities and self-regulation, gain more experience in the traffic environment, and are typically exposed to road safety education. Patterns of risk may consequently change across childhood. Identifying risk patterns across mode of transport is also important, as the ways in which children travel is changing with age. Our project compared the number of 4 to 10-year-olds and 11 to 15-year-olds who were killed or seriously injured in road traffic collisions as pedestrians, cyclists and car occupants during 2016 in England, using Stats19 police reported casualty data, Index of Multiple Deprivation postcode data, and Office for National Statistics deaths and population data. The findings revealed that younger and older children from deprived backgrounds are nearly 3 times more likely to be killed or seriously injured as pedestrians. Although reduced, this social inequality is also apparent across cyclists and car occupants. For both younger and older cyclists, those living in the most deprived areas were at greater risk of being killed or seriously injured. For car occupants, injury risk was similar across deprivation levels for younger children, so the 4 to 10-year-old group, but for older children, those in the most deprived areas had a greater risk of being killed or seriously injured, so those in the 11 to 15-year-old group. Gender was also found to be another risk factor. Males in the most deprived areas were most at risk of being killed or seriously injured as pedestrians and cyclists in the 4 to 10-year-old group. And these gender disparities were even greater for 11 to 15-year-olds. Male adolescents who were pedestrians were more likely to be killed or seriously injured than females, but this attenuated with decreasing deprivation. The gender disparity remained across deprivation for cyclists, with a relatively stable level of risks for females, but greater risk of being killed or seriously injured for males in the most deprived areas. For car occupants, males were more likely to be killed or seriously injured than females in the most deprived quintile. However, in the least deprived quintile, females were more likely to be killed or seriously injured as car occupants. Children living in deprived areas, particularly older children and males, are at the greatest risk for road traffic injury, therefore. A further group of children who are vulnerable in the road environment are children with special educational needs and disabilities. Research in this field is sparse, and consequently understanding of road traffic injury risk for children with different special educational needs and disabilities is limited. We are currently investigating the impact of special educational needs and disabilities on road safety in a project funded by the Department for Transport. This project is currently ongoing, but the first part of this project has involved providing young people between 7 and 18 years old who are diagnosed with autism, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or a learning impairment with a video camera to film a journey that they make regularly, particularly looking at walking trips. We are currently analysing this video data to identify the ways in which young people are travelling, risk factors that they are facing in the road environment, and how are they supported in the road environment and with their road safety. Young people and their parents also participate in interviews about their videos and about their road safety. Although we're still currently analysing this data, emerging findings indicate that young people with special educational needs are often accompanied by a caregiver in the road environment. This is often because caregivers feel they are unsafe in the road environment. For example, parents of children with attention deficit hyperactive disorder felt they would be unaware of the risks, and parents of children with autism often reported they would not be confident to manage any change to their regular journey. For example, if a bus was delayed or cancelled. Some parents even reported that their children had experienced a near miss, for example, nearly being hit by a car, and this had made them cautious about allowing their child greater independence in the road environment. Young people with special educational needs and disabilities also often reported feeling anxious about travelling. While some wanted independence and wanted to be able to travel by themselves, others didn't want to travel without a caregiver and felt much more confident in the presence of a caregiver. Caregivers highlighted that the secondary school journey often presents a significant challenge for young people with special educational needs and disabilities, especially where their schools are further away and involve several changes of transport. Parents reported preparing their children for the secondary school journey in advance, so practicing the route with them, or said that they would likely be driving their children to the school due to the limited transport options and not feeling that their child was ready to do this journey by themselves. Another interesting finding that has emerged is that caregivers often reported that the street and the road environment were unsuitable for the needs of young people with special educational needs and disabilities. And it was these street and the road environment that were limiting their ability to be more independent. They felt that it was the environment and the understanding of other people and drivers in particular that needed to be addressed. For example, parents felt that there needed to be more awareness of children with special educational needs and how they are in the environment, that they might step out into the road, that there needed to be more pedestrian-friendly zones where there were no cars for the children to walk about more independently. Or they felt that there should be crossings that were in some way more child-friendly. So to sum up, our research therefore indicates that children are a highly vulnerable group on the road, but particular groups of children seem to be at an increased risk. Children residing in deprived areas, males, and children with special educational needs appear to be at the greatest risk of road traffic injury. And we need to be looking at these groups more specifically in research and targeting them more with intervention and prevention methods. This risk of road traffic injury also seems to increase with age, with adolescents being at an increased risk. So we need to be thinking about how we're adapting our road safety education efforts with children's development and their changing transport methods. We are starting to identify those children who are most vulnerable in the road environment, but what can we then do about it? Our project, funded by the Road Safety Trust, which evaluated parent-focused road safety education, highlighted the key role that parents play. Teaching children road safety is a concern for parents globally, and they often believe they are best suited to teach their children road safety, as they most often accompany their children on the road. But many parents fail to teach their children practical road safety skills, or they teach their children out-of-date messages. Our project revealed there are actually very few road safety education initiatives that target parents directly, especially parents from deprived backgrounds. This project consequently evaluated effective ways of engaging parents of children under 11 in road safety education. The project resulted in the production of a guide for practitioners on methods to effectively work with parents to support their children's road safety. Examples of effective methods included involving siblings and the wider family, such as grandparents, embedding road safety education into parents' regular activities, such as children's playgroups, working with parents working with partners and parents, so including partners like the police and the fire services, and providing take-home resources. The complete guide that we created for this project is available electronically via the Road Safety Trust. Thank you for listening.